In the release notes of FileMaker 19.3.1, there's one line saying the key or index or path parameter in JSON functions can accept periods in key names when paths are expressed in bracket notation. Well, like most of us, my first reaction when I read it was, what? Welcome back to the channel. This is Wei Hao at Direct Impact Solutions. In today's video, I will show what I found out about this new enhancement, what it means, and where can we use it. The first thing I wanted to understand is, what is bracket notation? So I googled JSON bracket notation. And most entries I found are not actually about FileMaker, but JavaScript. Which totally makes sense, as JSON is short for JavaScript Object Notation. So I read a bit about bracket notation under the context of JavaScript. I think the easiest way to explain the bracket notation is to show it. Here is a demo file I created. The way it works is that if I enter a path here, the system will try using the JSON getElement function to parse the result from this JSON object. A dot notation is what we are familiar with, in which we use dots to separate keys at different levels. So if I want to get the value of the price, I will do this. The bracket notation, on the other hand, uses brackets to wrap around each key or index. If it's the key, then it will also use single quotes to indicate that. If it's an index, then there are no quotes. So for the same path, it will be like this when written in the bracket notation. Comparing the two, the dot notation is faster to write and clearer to read. However, the bracket notation allows access to properties containing special characters. For JavaScript, this includes keys start with a number, like this, keys with spaces, like this, keys with non-ASCII characters, like this, and keys with dots, like this. What about in FileMaker? With some experiments, I found out that FileMaker's dot notation is actually more forgiving than the JavaScript version. It handles keys starting with numbers, keys with spaces, and keys with non-ASCII characters without a problem. The only thing it doesn't handle well is keys with dots inside, because it couldn't tell whether the dot is supposed to be part of the key or is supposed to be a separator. Many developers have built their own workaround solutions by substituting the dot in the key name with something else. And finally, in FileMaker 19.3, a native solution is provided. In 19.3 or later, all FileMaker JSON functions support bracket notation and would allow you to use it on keys with dots inside. So now we can use path like this in JSON getElement, JSON setElement, JSON deleteElement, and JSON listKeys. One thing I noticed is that you can actually mix dot notation with bracket notation. Take this path as example. This is what it looks like when using bracket notation everywhere. But I can turn some of them into dot notation and it will still work. In fact, we have been using this mixed notation since FileMaker 16 without realizing it. Notice for arrays, we use a bracket here for the array index. That's bracket notation. So to be more precise, what's new in 19.3 is the support for the bracket notation on text-based keys. So Where would we use bracket notation? Should we start putting dots in our keys when creating JSON objects? Yes and no. As mentioned earlier, the dot notation is faster to write and clearer to read. So we should still avoid having dots in our keys if we can. However, when integrating with third-party services, we don't control what the third-party API will require or return. So it's nice to have the option to use dots in our keys when third-party integration requires it. This leads to my verdict about this enhancement. The core of this enhancement is compatibility. It does not provide any additional JSON-related functionalities, but it makes the existing JSON functions compatible with more JSON data. That's the end of the video. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We publish FileMaker videos every week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.